calls it the Ruto Raila first budget. Many questions have been asked about the ambitious amounts that we're talking about, 4.2 plus trillion Kenya shillings. What happens to education funding, which is a big concern, and how much we are spending on other issues. The Auditor General, for example, raised concern just the other day about how much we spent on the AU campaigns, amounting to over 40 billion shillings. The questions we're asking when it comes to education budgets are concerns about 6-7 billion shillings towards capitation money. Ngunjiri Wambugu, you've known John Mbadi from the other side as a strong critic of the government and questioning the budget-making process. Right now, he sounds and looks very confident. But by now, at least we have so many details. In fact, the Daily Nation talks about the winners and losers. Are you hopeful this time round that we are getting it right?
Fred, putting together a budget for government will never be a tidy process. And it's just ironical that Mbadi is now the one who's trying to put this one together. I mean, Mbadi's political career, I think for the entire period, and he's been in politics and in elected office and even been nominated for a long time, he's been primarily a critic of government expenditure, of government budget making process. So it was a genius move, for lack of another word, to actually make him CS for Treasury. Because now he has to incorporate everything he has complained about and preempt it in his budget. Now, one of the advantages and one of the differences in this particular budget and the previous budgets is that when you look at how they've handled, again, the communication around this one. First, we have a lot less, okay, that we have much less careless statements, especially from MPs and from the leadership. Last year, part of what made last year's finance bill so emotive was the kind of careless statements that were being made when something was raised. Remember, somebody would raise an issue, then somebody, an MP or somebody in government would retort to it and make a careless statement about why that issue was there. We've seen a major difference on that one. There's no careless statements coming from leadership, coming from the Treasury Department itself, coming from the CS himself. He has tried throughout this process to give hope and to give an assurance that we've got this. He's been talking about no taxes. I'm not sure that it is possible to make a budget that has no increase or change in taxes. I suspect within a lot of the English that he's making, there is going to be an effect on taxes. He's talked about the issue about KRA trying to get access to personal information. And the argument is that, no, we're not going after personal information for anything else. We are going after it to just reduce tax evasion. So he's trying to run ahead of the conversation on this one. Once he actually presents the budget, it will be interesting to see what he's actually presented. Because again, we'll always come back to the point that even within the media, we are focusing on specific issues. We are focusing on the capitation. We are focusing on the reduction in food, the school feeding program. We are focusing on specific issues that are either relevant or popular or have an effect on what we think is important. Once the whole budget is read, it is going to be interesting to see how the whole 4.2 trillion comes together. It is also going to be interesting to see where they're planning to get this money from. Because we don't raise to 4.2 trillion from our taxes. So there's going to be a lot of gaps that need to be sealed in terms of debt. I see him saying that the debt has come down to around 53% from 67%. It would be interesting to see how that has happened. I've always been a believer that if we could come up with proactive ways that actually make people want to pay taxes, rather than making it look like it's that the money is being forcefully taken away from you. If we could expand the tax base, then we could actually reduce the amount of money every individual pays. I would want to see whether Mbadi has been able to come up with something like that, because the reason why taxes are always painful is because you have approximately 3 million people who pay taxes out of a workforce of close to 15. So we have a lot of people who don't pay taxes, and it would be important to see how do you start encouraging those people to start paying taxes so that you reduce what every individual pays? So, interesting budget, interesting politician, going to parliament to actually talk to his peers and try to explain to them. I suspect Mbadi is pretty smart in what he does. He is going to try and answer the questions people are going to ask before they ask them, so that he reduces the pressure.
Are you saying that they're a bit better at managing expectations?
They have actually, not even trying to say, I'm actually saying it. They have done a much better job in managing expectations, and that is why today we don't have, and of course the unfortunate issue of the fact that we now have Albert's case as a major news story. So a lot of attention has moved away from the budget to this. And then also he has done quite a bit of work in trying, whether it's deliberate or by default, in managing the expectations of people around this budget.
Okay. On Association, of course, there have been many questions asked around the education sector. Do we have enough money for capitation, for school feeding program, for even